You don't know, you damn well should know. I am Reynolds. And if you haven't watched my previous Australia video, then I recommend you click off of this video right now and go check that one out. I will leave a link to it in the description and also at the end of this video. So let's just jump right into this. For the longest time, I was pretty worked up over Australia. I simply could not handle the fact that such a terrible place actually existed. I was mad because somehow in some way a place existed on planet Earth where all of the people sounded like they were suffering from aphasia. They lived amongst animals that you would only otherwise see by watching In the Night Garden, and they had an all-around level of obnoxiousness rivaled only by the likes of myself and those annoying people who try to hand you flyers in the street. But saying that, even those fools cannot compete with Australia when it comes to being obnoxious. As you can make out from my previous video, I was certainly pretty mad over the existence of Australia. I mean, just how could a nation exist that was built from convicts that no one else wanted, and that also managed to lose a war to a bunch of dumb birds? I was so mad over Australia being a real place that I made a bunch of horrible tweets on Twitter. I said, as a public service, I will personally burn Australia to the ground. I then said, if Australia wins Eurovision, I will drown one puppy and burn one baby for every point they win by. I also said, let's send Australia to space. And then without warning, 2017 became one of the greatest years of my life when I came across some guy on Twitter claiming that Australia does not exist. This was a theory I had never even considered prior to that moment. I was so taken aback by this that I had to spend a couple of days pondering over the idea before I actually made any sort of public statement regarding it. So a couple of days later I posted to Twitter again. I said, I just found out that Australia isn't actually a real place. Can't believe I was mad about that place for so long, it all makes sense now. Yes, much like a Holocaust denier, or a fat person who is only fat due to genetics denier, I, Reynolds, am an Australia denier. The theory regarding Australia that I lean towards most is one that I myself came up with. The theory goes like this. The founder of New Zealand hated how his people sounded when they spoke. He realised that the rest of the world probably would too. And since they were entering into an age where it was quite obvious that the entire world would be communicating via audio and video and not just written word, it was necessary to make their country known as anything other than the worst received country known to man. So he got his council together and they put together a plan. They were going to take all of the worst parts of their culture, make it 50 times worse, ingrain it into the minds of 100 citizens with the lowest IQs, and then put those people into an abandoned city together with cameras on them 24/7. New Zealand had essentially set out to create a faux reality show in order to fool the world into thinking that there was a place worse than their homeland. But in the end it turned out that it was something bigger than they could ever have imagined it being. The council got obsessed with their little project, and as the technology of the world was rapidly developing, they decided it might be a good idea to start introducing strange new animals that you would normally only see watching strange TV shows. So they created the robotic creature that we know today as a kangaroo. If you need proof that kangaroos are robots, then please just watch this following clip. In the clip we just watched, we are shown robots that these people are claiming mimic kangaroos, when in reality this technology is what it actually is already inside kangaroos. From what I can make out from everything I've seen regarding this, it seems like the New Zealand government have realised that people such as myself are onto them, and that they want to start making people think that they are putting out robotic kangaroos into the wild to live among the real kangaroos, so that once someone who knows what's going on actually cuts one of the original kangaroos open, the New Zealand government can claim that the metal skeleton is because it was one of the new robotic kangaroos that they had put out recently. It's a smart move on their part, and if they do manage to get the message out there to the rest of the world that they are creating robotic kangaroos inspired by real kangaroos, then all hope may be lost for ever outing to the public just what the New Zealand government has done. Now please check out this great little doodah created by @InBeforeKnife on Twitter. It says, is Australia real? Have you ever been to Australia? No? Then Australia isn't real? Yes? You're lying. Australia isn't real. Now you may be wondering, if Australia isn't real, then how come people I know say that they have been there? Well, you see, there's a perfectly simple explanation for all of this. In fact, there are three explanations, one depending on what your situation actually is. The first explanation is regarding the people who claim to be Australians. You see, the government of New Zealand has brainwashed these people into thinking that they are living in this false nation. When they were ingraining the worst parts of their culture into their minds of the first 100 people, they also brainwashed them into thinking that the place they dumped them in wasn't just an abandoned city, but a whole new country for them to call their own. The second explanation is regarding people who claim to visit Australia. To keep it as simple as possible, let's just say that some funky stuff happens on the flight over there. You see, these people think that they are arriving in Australia, but actually they never spend a minute in Australia. They spend the entire trip in the comfort of their seat on the plane, essentially hallucinating the entire experience. The third and final explanation is regarding people who claim to have moved to Australia. These people have an experience much like those who visit Australia, with the key difference being that these people never leave that plane ever again. Instead, the government of New Zealand create robots in their likeness who are then shipped off to live in the city with all of the other brainwashed Aussies. Now here's some more evidence that Australia does not exist, as pointed out by a map of the world. Look at this world map. Seems like a normal world map, right? Well, look closer. The right circle at the bottom right. Now what's that? No Australia. Over at debate.org, a poll shows that people are beginning to actually wake up and realise the truth that there's no Australia. As you can see here, 37% think yes, but 63% say no. A compelling argument is made here by a user going by the name of Massive Dump, and he argues, a country that spans an entire continent? Yeah, right, and I have a soul. Everyone, the 7 continents are North America, South America, Africa, Asia, Europe, Antarctica, and Atlantis. There's never 8 of anything. Come on, Snow White and the 8 continents? I don't recall watching that movie with Kirsten Stewart. The sooner we face reality, the sooner we can move on from the Australia delusion. And you know, Bill Nye the Science Guy even once denounced the existence of Australia. He said, "Say to the grown-ups, if you want to accept Australia and live in your world that's completely inconsistent with everything we observe in the universe, that's fine. But don't make your kids do it, because we need them. We need geographically literate voters and taxpayers for the future. We need people that can. We need engineers that can build stuff, solve problems. Please, don't teach your kids Australianism." Hopefully by now I have convinced you that Australia is nothing more than a work of fiction, a dreadful work of fiction. Australia is just an elaborate scheme cooked up by the government of New Zealand, intended to protect their self-esteem and prevent them from being labelled as the worst country on earth. But just think, all of this could have been avoided if the founder of New Zealand had just been made aware of Brazil. You're welcome, society. And if you enjoyed this video, then please check out the videos on screen now, and if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button.